Of the Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis. Book 3 of Interior Consolation. Chapter 50. How one that is alone in the world ought to commit himself into the hands of God. O Lord God, Holy Father, be thou now and forever blessed. For as thou willest, so has it been done, and what thou dost is good. Let thy servant be glad in thee, not in himself nor in any other. For thou alone art true joy, thou my hope and my crown, thou my gladness and mine honor, O Lord. What has thy servant but what he has received from thee, and this without any merit of his own? Thine are all things which thou hast given, and which thou hast made. I am poor and in labors from my youth, and my soul is sometimes saddened unto tears, and sometimes is disturbed within herself by reason of sufferings at hand. I long for the joy of peace. I beg again and again for the peace of thy children, who are fed by thee in the light of thy consolation. If thou givest peace, if thou infusest holy joy, the soul of thy servant shall be full of melody, and devout in thy praise. But if thou withdraw thyself, as thou art very wont, he will not be able to run in the way of thy commandments, but rather his knees are bent for the smiting of his breast, because it is not with him as it was yesterday and the day before, when thy lamp shone over his head, and he was covered under the shadow of thy wings, from temptations coming on like a flood. Father, just and always to be praised, the hour is come for thy servant to be tried. Father, worthy of all love, it is fitting that thy servant should at this hour suffer something for thee. Father, always to be honored, the hour is come, which thou didst foresee from all eternity, that thy servant for a short time should be outwardly oppressed, but inwardly live always to thee, that he should be a little slighted and humiliated, and should seem wanting in the sight of men, that he should be severely afflicted with sufferings and weaknesses, that so he may rise again with thee in the dawn of a new light, and be glorified in heaven. Holy Father, this hast thou appointed, and so hast thou willed, and that has come to pass which thou hast ordained. For this is a favor to thy friend, that he should suffer and be afflicted in this world for the love of thee, how often soever and by whomsoever thou permittest it to befall him. Without thy counsel and providence, and without cause, nothing is done upon earth. It is good for me, Lord, that thou hast humiliated me, that I may learn thy statutes, and that I may cast away all uplifting of heart and all presumption. It is useful for me that shame has covered my face, that I may seek for comfort to thee rather than to men. I have also learned thereby to dread thy inscrutable judgments, who dost inflict the just together with the wicked, but not without equity and justice. Thanks be to thee, that thou hast not spared my sins, but hast worn me down with bitter stripes, inflicting pains and sending distress both within and without. Of all under heaven, there is none that can comfort me but thou, O Lord my God, the heavenly physician of souls, who smitest and dost heal, leadest down to hell, and bringest up again. Thy chastisement is on me, and thy rod itself shall teach me. Behold, dear Father, I am in thy hands. I bow myself down under the rod of thy correction. Smite thou my back and my neck, that I may bend my crookedness to thy will. Make me a pious and humble disciple of thine, as thou wert wont well to do, that I may walk at thine every sign. To thee I commit myself, and all that is mine, to be corrected. It is better to be chastised here than hereafter. Thou knowest all things and each thing, and there is nothing in the conscience of man hidden from thee. Thou knowest things to come before they are done, nor hast thou need that any should teach thee or remind thee of the things that are done upon earth. Thou knowest what is expedient for my progress, and how serviceable tribulation is to rub away the rust of sin. Do with me according to thy good pleasure, which I have desired, and despise not my sinful life, to no one better or more clearly known than to thee alone. Grant me, O Lord, to know what I ought to know, to love what I ought to love, to praise what is most pleasing to thee, to esteem what is precious in thy sight, to despise what is vile in thine eyes. Suffer me not to judge according to the sight of the outward eyes, nor to pronounce according to the hearing of the ears of inexperienced men, but to determine both the things that are seen and spiritual things with true judgment, and above all things ever to seek thy good will and pleasure. The minds of men are often deceived in judging, and the lovers of this world are deceived in loving visible things alone. What is a man the better for being reputed greater by man? The cheat deceives the cheat, the vain, the blind, the weak, whilst they extol them. And in truth, one rather puts another to confusion, whilst he vainly praises him. For how much each one is in thine eyes, so much he is and no more, says the humble Saint Francis. And that concludes Chapter 50 of Book 3 of the Imitation of Christ.